Well, shall we?
At your leisure, you're the munchie boy.
At my leisure. Okay. Sorry. Peanut stuck in my throat.
Penis stuck in your throat?
Peanut. Yeah, there were several peanuts stuck in my throat.
Welcome to Namely 90s. Wow. The podcast that takes you back to the time before smartphones, Google, and Y2K. Join your hosts as they relive the pop culture that shaped a generation and the parts that many people wish they could forget. Listen in to the conversation about how the decade defined those who spent their childhood there and how it shaped them as adults. So, turn down the grunge and dial up the internet. Let's get started. It's time for Namely 90s.
All right, you're listening to Namely 90s. This is Andrew. Over there, that's Brandon.
That's me.
We want to welcome you to the show. You can find us online at namely90s.com or on Twitter at namely90s. That's with the 90s. We just did our Halloween episode. I hope everyone enjoyed that. We certainly did. And it was sort of the prototype for our holiday episodes, which I imagine Brandon probably wants to say something about right now.
I do, but also you're listening to this on November 2nd.
Oh boy.
So if you haven't voted yet, pause this episode, go vote. Maybe listen to us while you're dropping off your ballot. But don't mail it. Drop it off in person. Just do it. Go vote.
And if you're, I suppose there's a chance it could be November 2nd, and you may still be somewhat undecided, which seems a little bizarre to me. It seems like this one's a pretty open and shut case, depending on who you are. Regardless, it is very important to our democracy. Please do vote. Yes.
And when you're done voting, if you feel like voting some more, you can do us a favor and visit namely90s.com/holiday, where you'll find a link to a Google form, because we want to know what your favorite or least favorite holiday episode of 90s TV is for a special project we've got cooking up for December. You can submit now through the end of November. I'm saying American Thanksgiving. So thank you for listening and for your submissions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what's new with you over there?
Well, so we're recording Friday the 30th of October. So yes. I watched the new episode of Mandalorian last night at midnight, or I guess it was 1:30 since we played Rocket League for an hour and a half.
Yeah. Yes, that we did.
Yeah. So wow. If you like The Mandalorian, if you like Star Wars in general, you need to get Disney Plus and go watch this immediately, because wow. But also,
is it the one? Does it still have the guy from Breaking Bad in it?
Yes. He's not in he's not in the first episode, but yes, Giancarlo Esposito is, I believe, is the big bad of the series, or at least of the first season.
Yeah, that guy plays a really convincing, like, super bad dude.
Yeah, menacing, always menacing.
Yeah,
he had a guest spot on Community as Chevy Chase's half brother, and he also played evil in the first time he was introduced. Does it really well.
It's just typecast, I guess.
It sucks when you're typecast, but he's quite fantastic. Actually, in the first, I don't think I want to spoil who's in the first episode.
That reminds me that you're talking about the typecast thing. I was thinking about, that reminded me of John Krasinski, obviously from The Office primarily, and then as Jack Ryan. Have you seen that mashup YouTube video of, like, it's what is it? Something, a Jim Ryan or something. It's like a mashup of The Office clips with Dwight being, like, ridiculous and John Krasinski. It's really good. I'll just send you the link. It's pretty hilarious.
I heard about it, but I've never actually seen it.
Yeah,
but,
it was funny.
Yeah. Other important things happening. I just heard yesterday that Tiny Toon Adventures, the animated series from the early 90s, is getting a reboot that's coming to HBO Max.
Reboot. We should have like a reboot alarm that goes off every time we talk about the new reboot.
No, I'm gonna have to go find a reboot alarm.
Seriously, it's like there's so many of them. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, so they're rebooting it as Tiny Toons Looniversity, and they already have a 2-season direct order, no pilot necessary.
Are they doing all this via distance learning by chance?
That's a good question. I know probably recording socially distant from their houses. Yeah. Any news from you?
No, just looking forward to the culmination of this election. I know that our world, regardless of the outcome, is not going to all of a sudden be a better place, but it does feel a bit like a powder keg out there, and the emotions are high, COVID, et cetera. So kind of looking forward to just ticking the box, so to speak, and moving past that portion of things.
I've worn my we have the facts and we're voting t-shirt for this episode. So
nice. Yeah. Nice. Very
Which
good.
is also what I wore yesterday when I dropped off my ballot.
Yeah, mailing them. Apparently, they already lost like 10,000 ballots in Pennsylvania, supposedly.
I mean, not just that. Some I think it was Michigan or Maine, one of the Eastern states.
Michigan.
Their Supreme Court ruled that any ballots received after Election Day will not be counted.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. There's sort of political implications behind. So like if someone says
literally everything,
go vote, people are like, they like assume that means something politically, and it may or may not, but it's like, that is literally the foundation of our country. So yeah, go vote. And I know it's like, the Electoral College, the popular vote, just do it.
Yeah, just do it. Yeah. I mean, there's local stuff that propositions, statewide propositions. It's more than just voting for president.
Absolutely.
Since you mentioned that, my favorite TV show of all time is Community, and the cast got together to do a reunion ad for the Biden campaign, but they're like, we're not going to endorse any one person, go vote, and then it cuts to vote Joe.
Yeah, I think the implication is that anyone who's like encouraging people to vote is trying to draw in like the more liberal voters, which maybe is true, maybe
or the undecided, or the ones that
my point here is
they're
just
jaded by the system.
But like we talked about in episode 3, or what do we call it again? It was a Black Lives Matter episode, and it was like you have to vote in your local elections, because that's where you're going to have influence. The presidential election, if you live in a state like me, Washington, my vote, as important as it is to vote, isn't going to influence the outcome, because this will be carried as a blue state. You know what I mean?
I mean, hopefully.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, as you know, there's a large section of the state that's red. It's just the populous part.
Geographically, yeah. So that's the thing. So, but in any case, vote. Is that the theme? I think that's the theme.
Well, that's the theme for our organic intro. But let's take you back to November 1998. On the 2nd, Becker premieres on CBS. Do you remember Becker?
Something about it was like a football coach or something.
Was he a football coach?
He was some kind of a coach, wasn't he?
That was Cheers. He was a baseball player. Ted Danson was a baseball player and then retired.
Apparently I don't remember it then.
Becker, he was a doctor.
Oh.
Yeah. And then the girl with that really annoying voice was his assistant. And then there's the blind black guy, but the guy that always plays the blind black guy.
Did you say blind? Oh, you said blind. I think you said blonde. I don't know who you're referring to. And I actually don't know who you're referring to when you mentioned the blind one.
Okay. Well, I watched Becker on daytime television on repeats or during the day when I was like sick from school or something, or during the summer board. It's a very mediocre comedy. But Ted Danson, it's Ted Danson. It's Ted Danson playing Ted Danson again, from Cheers. And also on the 2nd, JJ the Jet Plane premieres. Threw that in there for you with the little kids.
JJ the Jet Plane. Yeah, it's not one we watch in our house right now.
On the 14th, Dennis Rodman marries Carmen Electra. Remember that?
Was that before or after he married himself?
I completely forgot he married himself. That was before. On the 18th, Powerpuff Girls premieres on Cartoon Network, and it is Hanna-Barbera's final TV show that they produce, I guess. That's a weird random fact that I wrote down a month ago and don't remember anything about. On the 18th, the U.S. sees the release of the Game Boy Color.
Yes.
On the 19th,
that was a cool system.
Oh, yeah. I think we both had one. On the 19th, Half-Life is released for the PC. On the 20th, the first module of the International Space Station, Zarya, is launched. And finally, on the 21st, Ocarina of Time, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, is released for the Nintendo 64.
Oh, crap. This is a good month.
Oh, yeah. And in the box office, we have on the 6th, we have The Waterboy. On the 13th, we have I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, I'll Be Home for Christmas, and Meet Joe Black. On the 20th, we have Enemy of the State and the Rugrats movie. And on the 25th, we have A Bug's Life and Babe, Pig in the City, which I believe is a sequel to the first Babe. And finally, on the Billboard charts, for the first week in November, coming in from October, we have The First Night by Monica, followed by Doo-Wop, That Thing by Lauryn Hill for 2 weeks. And then lastly, we have Lately by Divine for the last week of the month.
Don't know any of those songs. I mean, I might recognize them if I heard them, but by title, not a freaking clue.
Same. So I also included a couple that are also lower in the charts. For this week, we have number 2 is 1 Week by Bare Naked Ladies.
Oh, yes.
Number 8 is This Kiss by Faith Hill. Number 21 is You're Still the One by Faith Hill. She must have released an album at some point this year. And number 25 is Truly Madly Deeply by Savage Garden.
I just want to say about Bare Naked Ladies, for a lot of people, it's like 1 Week is the only song they ever did, but they're actually a really good band. So I feel like you should listen to them. Yeah.
If I Had $1 Million, I think was a good one.
No, I mean, their music is just like, I like their Spotify channel. It just kind of shuffled songs of theirs. They're pretty good.
A 2-time Grammy nominee, I believe.
Also Canadian.
Yep.
And they did the title song to the what was that movie? Chicken Little. There's a credential for you.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, wow, that is quite the comprehensive list of amazing things to talk about.
Yep, but we're going to start with the obvious one.
The Ted Danson Show?
Yeah. We're just going to do a Ted Danson retrospective from Cheers through Becker all the way to The Good Place.
And then all the way up to, we also can't forget about his brief stint on CSI.
Oh, right. I did forget that. And that was the main CSI, not any of the offshoots.
Yeah, the original. After Morpheus was done on there.
Yeah, when his hair is completely white.
So the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, by chance?
Absolutely.
I think it was named at some point in the recent few years the best game ever. I think they've read some articles. I don't know who ranked it that, but let me see. Ocarina of Time, best game.
I mean, it's certainly in my top 5 best games of all time list.
Yeah. I don't remember which one. There was some sort of article back then. I can't remember it now, but I mean, it was a really good game. It was one of the first, not the first. We talked about this with Mario 64, but one of the first sort of really great 3D games, right?
Yeah, and like we said when Mario 64, when we talked about that, it was developed concurrently with Mario 64.
I mean, it's just it's got a great replayability. It's
even
I don't
when
know, I
you
just,
know
it's,
everything, where everything is and how to
it's
100%
perfect. I don't know what else to say.
Okay, so it was originally going to be styled like Mario 64, where you just went into the main castle and then jumped into a bunch of paintings.
Oh, I hate that.
Right. So luckily they pushed Mario 64 to come out early and then gave Ocarina of Time more development, which allowed them to have the open world and redesign all that. One of the leftover painting relics is when I think it's the Forest Temple as Adult Link, when Phantom Ganon comes out of the paintings and attacks you. That was
that's true.
left over from the painting stuff. Also, it introduced Z targeting, which kind of defined a lot of the Zelda franchise going forward, which allowed you to target objects in three-dimensional space, because before in Zelda you just wait. You could wait for stuff to enter your plane and then slash it. But now in 3 dimensions, you had to like actually be able to strike something when it was coming at you from above. Sorry.
I remember the music too was really good. It was strangely missing the sort of classic Zelda music though, which is interesting.
But it made a bunch of music classic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think there were a lot of great puzzles. Just the overall story was pretty decent. The open world thing was always fun to explore. There were things to do even if you weren't playing the storyline, like fishing or doing horse stuff or whatever. So I remember for years repeatedly playing that over and over again.
But here's the thing. You never owned a Nintendo 64. Well,
right.
Not until college, I guess.
Yeah.
So how did you get into The Legend of Zelda?
Well, my next door neighbor, Jacob, had it, obviously, our friend. And we always just played it over there. So it was like, that's what we did back then, is we played The Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, that's what you two did back then. And then because Jacob had the golden cartridge, so all the Zelda games, the first releases have gold cartridges, or at least they used to. But you guys kept talking about it so much, and I had a 64, so I finally broke down and got it. And then I think this was right around the time that Majora's Mask came out, but I was still on Ocarina of Time, and it blew my mind how good it was, that I became so obsessed that, let's see, I purchased one of my first purchases after getting a job, saving up my money as a kid. I got one of those stupid Songbird ocarinas off of Nintendo Power. So I found that. Never learned how to play it because it's a sweet potato style ocarina instead of what they have in the game. It's shaped like the game, but it only has 4 holes. Just enjoy this for a second. So that's a Songbird ocarina.
Wow.
Recently, I think in the last couple of years, ThinkGeek had a plastic toy ocarina with buttons from the game on it. So for those of you that can't see, it looks like the in-game Ocarina of Time, and it has the C buttons.
Do you blow into it, or you just hold the button and it makes the sound?
You hold the button and it makes a sound. And then here's so I could go. Yeah.
You would have that.
Right.
That's spectacular.
It was really cool for the first 5 minutes that I had it. And then, so.
Can you play Stairway to Heaven on that thing? No, just kidding.
No, it bends notes, but you can't pitch them up as much as you could on the N64. And it does have pre-programmed, if I do it on the right setting. So it has all the 6-note songs pre-programmed, but you can't. One of my favorites was the Bolero Fire, which was 8 notes, and so you can't play that, or you can't trigger that to play.
Oh, what a ripoff!
Right?
Well, I mean, if you're gonna make it, let's make it here.
Exactly. It should have at least all the songs from Ocarina, if not also Majora's Mask.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Majora's Mask was kind of trippy, man. I'm telling you what.
Yeah.
That creepy ass moon.
I mean, I think it's a better game than Ocarina of Time. It is it's a bigger challenge. It's a bigger challenge. It's they had a little bit more time to put it together. Although they had to recycle assets, and we'll talk about this when Majora's Mask comes up. But it's a more difficult and more developed game because they were able to understand the 3D mechanic better.
Yeah, it was cool. But as a first entry into 3D Zelda, I mean, just absolutely spectacular.
Yeah,
seriously.
it defined what 3D Zelda was going forward. And so some people actually take umbrage to that. Aaron Hansen's Game Grumps had a series called Sequelitis where he wrote like 30-minute rants about his favorite video game franchises. And he talked about how Ocarina of Time ruined the original Legend of Zelda, because the original Legend of Zelda, it was free roam. It didn't tell you where to go. Like, I've tried playing it on my Switch, and it's just like, I have no idea what I'm doing. So it took away the sense of adventure, because Ocarina of Time's like, oh, go here, do this, go here, do that, go here, do this, which kind of defined modern adventure games. But
I mean, some of the older games are like incomprehensible. Like you can't figure out what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like it takes, where it's like, I don't want a game that's so hard to figure out that I'm just not interested in playing it.
Exactly. And I think he's a few years older than us, just like, I think maybe 35 to us being 31, 32. But he experienced like the first wave of Nintendo games, whereas we caught the tail end of that and had Super Nintendo pretty much.
I mean, this may be controversial, but I think anything pre 3D is garbage. Just saying.
What about NHL 94?
I mean, here's the thing. Like, they're playable, right? Cars used to have 8-track players, and now they have, like, they connect to your phone and play Spotify. Sorry, better than an 8-track. You know what I mean? Like, there's a certain nostalgia. There's a certain nostalgia
Super Mario Brothers
to it.
3 is also on my top 5 games of all time list. So and everyone's entitled to that opinion. I'm just saying, like, when you look at sheer, I don't know. I just think 3D is the way to go. And for you to say that it ruined the franchise, I think is a little bit, a little bit over the top. The other thing was he really hated the Z targeting mechanic because of what it turned Zelda into. Because before bosses, everything would just attack you. And then with the Z targeting, like the Staphylos or the keys, you'd have to wait for them to attack you, shield, then attack them. And like, I never realized that until watching this, that a lot of the bosses just waste your time waiting on you having to wait for them to attack before you can attack.
And why do we care what this guy thinks, by the way?
He makes some good points, and he's one half of a very popular Let's Play series called Game Grumps.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. That's a tremendous list of credentials.
It is for me.
I'm just saying, I mean, respectfully disagree.
Yeah.
That's all.
I don't know, I'll send you a link, but it's long to watch, but it's funny. It's a good essay, because he bashes Skyward Sword because it's a terrible game.
Good. Thank God.
And
someone did.
low hanging fruit, I know. But it's it's a fun, if you have time, if you have a half hour to kill and you love Legend of Zelda, check out Sequelitis Ocarina of Time. And I also just wanted to mention the water temple, because F the water temple.
Yeah, seriously, that thing is intense.
Even though it gave us Dark Link, which was cool. You know, when I played Ocarina of Time the first time, I was stuck for months on the water temple because the stupid puzzles. There was like this. I cleared a puzzle and it unlocked something in the floor, like a block went away, but I didn't notice it for the longest time. For months, I just kept walking around. I'm like, where am I supposed to go? And I was just supposed to drop into this hole.
That's so frustrating.
Yeah. Also, one more thing since we're on it. So I have here the Hyrule Historia, which is the Legend of Zelda encyclopedia, and Nintendo officially gave a timeline to like all the games. So
really?
Yeah, so Ocarina is like the pivotal game, where it divides off based on if Link won against Ganon or if he failed. And so there's 3 timelines where the hero is defeated, the hero is triumphant, and he returns back to the child era, or he stays as an adult, which is interesting. So like it all starts back at Skyward Sword, and then blah 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 gets to Ocarina of Time. And then if you lose in the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, you go to A Link of the Past and then to the original Zelda and stuff like that. Whereas the child goes on to Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess, and the adult, the Wind Waker timelines created, essentially.
It's possible that someone may have too much time on their hands to have figured that out.
Oh, I mean, it's for an official Zelda encyclopedia that Nintendo released, so I feel like they were paid for that.
Yeah, well, you'd have to be. You would hope that one would be.
Unlike what I sent you, which is an updated version in the chat of the timeline based off of someone's extra work.
I'll have to check that out.
Post when I think this came out pre Breath of the Wild. Yeah. Oh, and then Breath of the Wild is a return to form for the original style of Zelda, essentially. So I've talked a lot about Zelda. Anything else you remember about that?
No, I mean, I think that pretty well summarizes it. An iconic game overall, I would say. And I truly enjoyed playing it growing up. So it'll always go down in my, in my mind as one of the best games ever made.
Yeah. Continuing on from video games or Nintendo, I thought we'd talk about the Game Boy Color real quick. Or as fast as you want to.
I had the yellow one, I think, for the Pokemon Yellow release.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember you had an ugly colored one.
Ouch, shots fired.
Yeah,
Jeez.
well, because when I got it, the only options were purple and clear purple, I think. Because I remember I got it before you did.
Yeah, I remember it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Played that thing an awful lot.
Well, you had a Game Boy Pocket too, didn't you?
No, actually. No, we never did. My brother had the original, and then I got the yellow one.
Oh, huh.
That was all.
Yeah, do you remember any games?
I only remember playing the Pokemon Yellow version on it. I mean, I'm sure I played other things, but that was the one I remember most. Yeah. I was excited about getting that.
For me, it was Pokemon Gold and Silver.
Yeah.
And then also Pokemon Pinball. I remember it was pretty fun for that. It had a Rumble cartridge, or it had a Rumble feature on the cartridge. And then just a great looking Game Boy. You could play the old games and you could get, because it was backwards compatible and it would semi-color your old games for you.
Was it backlit or did you have to have a light for it? I think you had to have a light for it.
I think you had to have a light for it.
Yeah.
There was a... there's either a Pocket or a Color that came out in Japan exclusively that had a backlight on it.
So that was always a hard thing trying to play in the car when it was like nighttime.
Or,
you couldn't see the screen.
Or when your parents had told you to go to bed and you're like, just a couple more minutes.
But I remember I had the little light that plugged into the side and it had like the little curly springy thing and it would cast light over the screen.
Oh yeah, I think I had that too. I remember most vividly on my original Game Boy, I had like this really nerdy magnifier that flipped out and had lights on.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, that was awesome. And then I also remember at the mall, up in the second floor in the kids section of Macy's or whatever it used to be, the Bon Marché, at Alderwood, they would have demo stations for Nintendo and the Game Boy Color. For the longest time, they had Link's Awakening DX. Just come and play that, which I never really understood what Link's Awakening was until this past year, or the year before when they remastered it and it came out for the Nintendo Switch. Good game. Just wasn't for me on the Game Boy, I guess. Yeah. From there, there's a couple movies that came out that I thought we could at least touch on.
Okay, let's do it.
I mean, I wanted to start with the Rugrats movie just because that's the one that touched me the most in 1998. I didn't touch them.
Yeah, that's good.
So the Rugrats movie, that was like the big hit. It was the big thing for kids at that time. I think it introduced the new character Dill, which is Tommy's younger brother. There's a Reptar mobile that they rode around in, and their parents somehow got them lost in the woods or something.
Why don't I remember this?
You were probably over it by then.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
There's the soundtrack. I had the soundtrack on CD, and the Rugrats theme song had a rap remix that I was really into.
Oh, jeez.
I remember that it was like
Rugrats.
RUGGRAATTS. Take me there. I want to go there. Yeah.
Wow, that's surreal. Yeah. Thank you for that.
Take me to that great place where fun never leaves there. That's as much as I remember, I think. But yeah, I can't remember the plot of the movie other than I think they get lost in the woods because of bad parenting. And
then they get eaten by a coyote.
Well, they're in the Reptar mobile. It protects them. And Tommy has to, I think he's trying to like leave his brother in the woods or something, but then decides to rescue him or something. I didn't prep on that. Another kid's movie was A Bug's Life. All I remember is that I liked it better than Ants, and there was a fat caterpillar that talked like a German.
Yeah.
A silly German.
We watched that movie a couple times with the kids. It's pretty funny.
But have you watched the Woody Allen Ants movie?
Yeah, I remember seeing it a while back, and it's not good. It's not good.
And then The Water Boy.
That's not a movie that I think I've seen in its entirety, but I just remember it being a bit outrageous. And that was why when I was watching the Adam Sandler movie, the Halloween one, like when he started doing the voice, I was like, I just can't do a movie where he's going to do a voice the whole time because it's such a dumb voice.
Oh yeah, because he's playing like yet again like a slightly slow person.
Like, isn't that at some point? Isn't that going to become offensive? Like everything else is.
I believe it is offensive.
Okay, all right, good. I mean, not good, but.
I mean, the one thing that I really remember from that movie is Rob Schneider's character that plays like the yokel. That's like, you can do it.
Oh gosh, that's too funny.
Yeah, and then there's something about medulla oblongatas and how gators either have them or don't have them.
Yeah, and is that the same guy? Is it like the older black guy? What was his name? Do we know his name?
Oh no, is that Carl Weathers though?
I don't know.
From The Mandalorian.
Let me see. I don't think so. Okay, I need to know.
Oh, Henry Winkler was the coach.
Yeah, but that wasn't the guy who said the thing about the medulla oblongata, was it?
No, you're right. Oh, are you asking if it's the same black guy from
that movie?
From the other movie, Happy Gilmore?
I can't remember now. I'm confused.
I don't know if he...
Well, I guess we'll have to come back to that because I can't remember it. I'm trying to look it up, but it makes for bad
search histories.
Podcasting.
Oh, I don't see any black people in the cast.
Maybe I'm thinking about the guy. Maybe he was from
Carl Weathers was in Happy Gilmore as his coach.
I think I'm thinking Happy Gilmore.
Yeah. Carl Weathers was the guy that didn't have the hand, and then it got bitten off by the alligator. Yes.
Was that really who that was?
Yes, that was Carl Weathers.
Oh gosh, I just don't even know what I'm doing.
But yeah, it was one of his professors that in weird that they would feature alligators in both movies.
Right. No, I think it's kind of like a running gag.
I guess so.
That's too funny.
Yeah. Well, seeing as I didn't really see what time we started this episode, I think we're winding down.
Yeah, I think we may have. Yeah, oh boy. Yeah, I think we're good.
So that's it for this week's edition of Namely 90s. Remember, you can find new episodes out every Monday, and please don't forget to visit our website, namely90s.com/holiday, to get that Google form and submit your favorite or least favorite episode of 90s holiday television now through American Thanksgiving. You can find us on Twitter at namely90s with a 90s, or find our personal accounts at bshwoody and at namelyandrew, and tell us what you want us to talk about on future episodes or what we missed in your favorite episodes so far. And please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, Flashpoint, Deezer, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and wherever you get your podcasts at. I'm Brandon, that's Andrew, and we will catch you next time.